Here we go, round two for video. My mistake. I just made a very embarrassing error. I had a headset plugged in, this one, and I forgot that it was plugged in. So I was talking without the headset, and then people told me they could not hear me. So my apologies. Can you hear me now? Okay, just making sure. Um, but I will get started. And today is World Bipolar Day, and for me, this is a very special day. The first 10 years of my bipolar journey, I didn't even know this day existed. And I'm going to concisely do my best to boil down my 24-year bipolar journey into this 10-minute-ish talk. So, yeah, if you can let me know that you can hear me, that'd be appreciated. Um, so, my bipolar journey officially started on January 1st, 2000. That's how I brought in the new millennium. And the week leading up to that, I was sleeping very little, extremely energetic, very confident, had nonstop ideas, had grandiose ideas, was hypersexual, spending more money than normal. And I was actually visiting family in New Zealand, and my mom and my brother were there, and they along with my other relatives, they knew that I was not being the real Scott, that it was like an alternate version, I'll say. And on New Year's Day morning, I pulled my mom aside and I said, I'd like to get taken to a clinic, walk in medical clinic, and I'd like to get this dealt with. Because at that time, I was really, really scared, really worried. I'm like, what's happening? Why? And I thought it was definitely something obviously mental related, brain related, but I didn't know for sure. So, anyways, I got transferred to a large hospital in Auckland, and I was diagnosed as being living with bipolar disorder. Um, and I ended up finishing my contract working in Japan. So I was there for another 5 months in Japan. During that time, I was meeting with an excellent psychiatrist who spoke English very well, which was fortunate. And he was experimenting different medications with me. And essentially, it got narrowed down to one called lithium. And I stayed on that for 5 years without question. So I diligently took it every day, had blood work every 3 months. On the positive side, I didn't have any major episodes, mania, which is what happened prior to January 1st, or depression. I had some mild mania, mild depression. But on the con side, on the negative side, I felt like emotionally flatlined. I was never really happy, never really sad. Um, and I just felt like I was kind of numb. So around 2005, I found the side effects were getting worse. Like I couldn't hold my hands steady like this. I'd have slight twitches. I was always thirsty, and I essentially started doing some research and just questioning this medication because I was I'd heard that there's potential kidney damage, kidney failure. By this point, I'm thinking, well, I might be on this the rest of my life. I'd been told I'd be on medication the rest of my life, and I also had been told and knew I was on a pretty low dose of lithium as well. So I was grateful for that. Um, and my mom passed away in '06 in the summer, and around that time, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna attempt living with this without medication. So I went off my medication and I was taking essentially a supercharged vitamin. And for about 6 months, everything was great. I felt healthy. I felt the side effects going away. And then I attended, for the first time in my life, a very powerful personal development and spiritual retreat. And that was a 7 day event. And during that time, I started going manic. So I was finding it hard to sleep. I was super energetic, super confident, hypersexual, grandiose ideas, nonstop creativity. And at that time, I knew, okay, I'm going manic. So when I got back to Vancouver, um, I ended up being handcuffed by the police, and being involuntarily taken into the hospital. So I was admitted to Richmond Hospital psychiatric ward, and I was there for a week. At that time, I was then put on a different medication. They took me off lithium, or they didn't put me back on lithium, I'll say. I got put on a different medication, and I was very diligent, and I told myself, okay, I'm going to stay on medication. I will be on medication. Then a month later, I had another manic episode while in Calgary. So at that point, I started really questioning. I'm like, okay, I'm now on medication and I've still had a manic episode. There has to be another answer. So I started looking more into different areas of my health, um, and I was more mindful with what I was eating. I started doing a little bit more of mindset study, and in 2009 I started seeing a naturopathic doctor, and she helped change a few things in my diet and also helped me with some mentally approaching the illness, not seeing it as an enemy. And I added some meditation into my life, and I added in also some other tools. And so, bottom line is, I kind of built more of a toolkit around my health instead of purely medication. And then in the year 2010, um, I had found out that at that time the medication I was on called Zyprexa is a medication that many people in Calgary are on for Chinook headaches. And Chinook headaches are when it's a warm wind in the winter that comes over the mountains, and in the span of a few hours the temperature can go from like -10 to +10 or more very quickly. So massive barometric pressure change, and some people get headaches from that. And I'd found out that there were people without a mental illness on the same medication as me at a much higher dose, purely for these headaches. And I got thinking, okay, wait a minute, that's the only thing I'm on. I'm on a low dose. I've built all these other tools in my life. I wonder if it's possible for me to live without medication. So in the summer of 2010, I moved out to Canmore. And at that time, I made the decision to go off medication. And I knew it was a risk. I didn't tell many people, but I chose to do that. And for the first 3 years, everything was great, or almost 3 years. And I think I was getting a bit cocky at that point, saying that, you don't need meds, meds are useless. And in December 2013, I feel the universe kicked my butt. I had another manic episode, not on medication, and I had a very short hospital stay. It was like 3.5 days. And I was surprised that the psychiatrist told me, I'm not putting you back on medication. I feel you'd go backwards if I put you back on meds. So I did not get put back on meds, and essentially I've been med free since. So I'm not anti medication. I do know plenty of people personally who live with bipolar disorder and other mental illnesses who take medication, and that is fine. I do know for me that I've learned that all medication has side effects, all medication is toxic, and essentially, I do feel that there is ways to be mentally stable without medication. So I'm at the point in my life now where I'm grateful and fortunate to be predominantly mentally stable. I still do have ups and downs. I still have times where I find it hard to get to sleep. I still have times where I'm definitely mildly depressed. That being said, I'm very fortunate that I no longer have deep depression and I no longer have full-blown mania where I'm in the hospital. And the first 10 years of my bipolar journey, I was someone who kept it private. Only family knew that I lived with this mental illness. And then since 2015, I've very publicly led various events and been a mental health advocate here in the Banff Canmore area. With the exception of 2023, I led or co-organized an event every year. And yeah, at this point in time, I really see it as a blessing that I live with this mental illness. That might sound strange. Bottom line is, I do feel that I'm an extremely creative person. I'm a very empathetic person, a very caring, loving person. And I do feel that because I've chosen to be med free, that I have really done a lot of research, testing on various areas of my holistic health to be a holistically healthy person. That being said, I've still got things I could be healthier with. However, I do feel that overall I'm a very healthy person, and I'm grateful to be able to use all these different tools that I've come across. So, thanks again, Paul and Pete, for letting me know in the earlier video that you couldn't hear me. And if you're at all interested, I'm doing a couple other lives today on specific things. One is the Lift Me Up tools that I use to help me when I'm feeling a bit down, and the other is Calm My Mind, and those are tools to help me when my brain is not turning off. So keep an eye out for those. And thanks again for the feedback, guys. And I appreciate your comments. Thank you for being here. And please feel free to share this video with anyone you know who lives with bipolar disorder. Take care and be well.